Hello lovely people, I'm Kathryn and welcome to this week's coverlet of comfort, where I'm going to carry on stitching on my Fantastic Flora block. Yeah, I'll do my best. I had a wisdom tooth out this morning. I'll probably talk more about the dentist and my relationship to the dentist in Friday's Park Home Life. But anyway, I had a wisdom tooth out, so I've waited for the anaesthetic to wear off a bit so that I can talk without any danger of biting the inside of my mouth or anything, because I had to have 3 injections. But anaesthetic always makes me feel really groggy, so I'll do my best. I'm just going to do some stitching with you, maybe for half an hour, and I hope that's okay. I'm sure you'll understand. And I don't really have a plan. I have done a little bit in the intervening week, so I'll try and remember what I've done. You will probably remember better than me. I think I'd already done that. Oh, I did. I think I've done this. I think everything with the beads I've added. So here I did some chain stitch coming out. I don't think I'd done the Suffolk puff on here, had I? I say as if I can hear you. No, you hadn't, Kathryn. No, I heard you. Thank you. So I did the Suffolk puff on here, and I decided to keep this one all just purples. And I did the shisha with the grey. It's like a purpley grey. Sorry, my mouth feels really weird. And then I did chain stitch coming off it, and then did a bead on the end of each line of chain stitch. I think I'd done that one already, hadn't I? And I put a shisha on here. I don't think I'd done that one. And this is just a little split back stitch, the green stitching, and then just a little bead, so just 3 lines and a little bead. And this one I did also the split back stitch. I like doing the split back stitch with the 2 strands of floss, because if you go down in between the 2 strands it almost looks like a very tiny chain stitch, and it's just I prefer that's kind of straighter line than the look of stem stitch in this scenario. Everything's got its place. So let's just do, I thought I might do some buttons. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shisha. Sorry, my mouth is more or less not numb anymore, but still doesn't feel like my mouth, if you know what I mean. So I've done 7 shishas. I think that's enough. I've got this lovely little jar of pearly buttons that Vicky sent me. I think she calls them the best ones, and I'm inclined to agree with her. So I thought maybe that's not a pearly button, that's a bit of something. Maybe I could put some of them are the really nice mother of pearl ones. I mean, they're all nice, but some are really nice, you know what I mean. So maybe I can put some of those on these smaller flowers. So I'm choosing them because they're all a little bit different. Talk amongst yourselves while I choose some buttons. I'm going to chuck them all out. Oh, that's a nice one. That's got. See, I always like this when I find rusty things or anything. You'll have to tell me if you're like this or not. I'm always drawn to the slightly weird, wonky, different one. And I think that's possibly because I identify with it, because I'm slightly weird, wonky and different, and I know many of you are as well, and that is why we all get along so well. Although we're often slightly weird, wonky and different in different ways, which makes it even more interesting, doesn't it? But anyway, so like even down to, I don't know, if someone offers you a plate of cakes, I won't take the perfect pristine one with the strawberry just so and the icing sugar. No, I'll take the one on the side that's probably, fallen or got squashed a bit or whatever. And I've always been like that. My family will attest. It's funny, isn't it? We're funny. We humans are funny. Right, see that one? It's got some thread in it that I'll have to get out, but I like it because it's weird and wonky. Right, so that's 3. Oh, there's another one up there. So I thought that one on there. And there's another one with a bit of colour on it, which tells me that it's real mother of pearl. Oops, I've dropped it. There it is. And that'll be 4. I don't like 4s of things. Oh, never mind, I have to get over myself. So let's sew those on. So yeah, it's not really, you know, I'm sure you all know how to sew a button on. They say that. Oh, what about that one? It's a nice one as well. And sometimes they're nice upside down. See, that button was meant to be that way because it's got that little moulding in it, but I prefer its, I nearly said I prefer its backside. I prefer its underside. Sorry, I can blame the anaesthetic, but if you've been watching me for any length of time, you'll know that I'm quite often silly with my sense of humour. So I can't really blame the anaesthetic. Let's get them all back in. So I think what I'll do is, rather than sort of sew them on properly, like if they had to button something up, they had to perform a service, they're not, they're decorative. See, now I'm wondering. No, I'll stick to that one. And I do like that one the right way up. I don't know if it's picking it up, but it's really pearly. Like, do you know about pearly kings and queens outside of the UK? It's a Cockney thing. Cockneys are Londoners who are born within sound of bow bells. My dad was a Cockney, although he was taken to the north when he was 18 months old because of the war. They were evacuated. But he was a proper Cockney because he was born within the sound of bow bells. Although he spoke northern because, you know, at 18 months he wasn't speaking, so he learned to speak up there. I've swapped that button for that one, and now I've seen that one. This is a video about Kathryn choosing buttons. Oh, Vicky, it's your fault. You sent me too many nice ones that I can't choose. I think I'll... that, yeah, there. I'm going to put the lid on. Where's the lid? Where did I put the lid? Yeah, and the Cockney King and Queen wear suits entirely covered in pearl buttons, all hand sewn on. It's not like, you know, if you're not British and you have no clue what I'm talking about, it's not like King Charles, you know, it's not like the real King and Queen. In fact, apart from knowing about them and how they look and that they're Cockneys, I don't know too much about how they, you know, if they're elected or if it's in a family or... you know, how it is, because you see lots of them, it's not like there's just one, and obviously people just dress up as them. Maybe I need to do some research. Anyway, if I'd known I was going to be doing pearl buttons, I would have done my research in advance. I think I'm going to take 2 strands of green floss out of my, you know, my thing. Oh, I've also got these buttons, but apparently I'm going with the pearl ones. These were sent, I think these were from Vicky as well. All threaded on little strings and kind of either colour coded, or this is like a mixed one. And I don't know if she's just thrown them on there willy-nilly or if she's assembled them, but to me that's almost, well, I can't get my hand through, but if it was elastic it would be a bracelet, wouldn't it? Well, there's a thought. But there's some lovely ones. Look at that one. Oh no, I want that one on here. The trouble is, to get it off I'm going to have to cut the string, and then they're going to go everywhere. And I haven't got anything to put them in. I'll turf the yo-yos out of there and use that. Yeah, I want that one. It's just the perfect shade of... can you see it? Maybe I'll entitle this video Buttons, Buttons and More Buttons. It's beautiful. Oh yes. I'll put it on that blue flower. The pearly one has to go away. Alright, are there any other ones? So, well, I tell you what, we have to have a plan. But aren't they great, threaded on things like that? Because all my buttons are just in tins mixed up. This is now going to have to either get rethreaded. Sorry, Vicky, all your hard work. But Vicky says, or Vicky said in the little note that accompanied these goodies, that she hangs them up in her craft room as sort of so she can see them, but they also look good and make you feel good to see them hanging. So that's how I've got them. Those are great big pearl ones. I'm sure there's nobody watching that's not interested in buttons. If there was anybody watching who's not interested in buttons, they're long gone. That's also a lovely pearly one. It doesn't show up so well there. No. And if they don't get used now, Kathryn, I have to tell myself, they'll get used somewhere else. So many lovely ones. hands up whose granny or someone in the family or mum or whatever had, and I expect we've all got ourselves, but a tin, usually a sweetie tin, or it had sweets in, or biscuits, cookies, and it was somewhere around the living room, and it had a button collection in it. And then someone would come in and go, "Ooh, sweeties," or "Ooh, cookies," or biscuits, we call them here, and open the tin and then be really disappointed that the tin was full of buttons. My granny had a Quality Street tin. Quality Street, they're still around now. In fact, I've got a very small vintage Quality Street tin, which I will fetch. I won't make you wait, I'll edit out me going and banging around in the other room. Here we go. I got this in France. Well, I do believe that Macintosh is a British company, but we tend to assume things are because we're, yes, made in the UK by Roundtree Macintosh York. Yorkshire even better. Sorry, slightly biased. But I bought this in France, and it says on it chocolates and toffees. I bought it on a brocante, which is like a flea market or a car boot sale. But then it's written chocolat et toffee. I'm saying toffee with a French accent, but I think that's Italian. Cioccolatini e toffees. I don't speak Italian, that's probably self-explanatory. And the weight is in grams, not pounds and ounces. And the ingredients are in French as well. In French and Italian. So apparently that was made for the French/Italian market. Sometimes you get things that are written in French and Dutch, and that's usually made for the Belgian market where they speak those two languages. But yeah, so my granny had a big version of this. Do you see this with my hands? This is a mini one. My granny had a big tin like this every Christmas. That was a treat at Christmas to have the Quality Street, and they're all wrapped in papers, individual shiny papers, and then there was usually a little guide somewhere on them. Sorry, I'm just going to look at the base, which would be better to do it with the lid on. No, there's nothing there anymore telling you what they were, but everybody knew what they were because they were, everybody knew them. So that's my Quality Street tin. Now I can get distracted even more by buttons. Look at that big wooden one. Right, put them away, Kathryn. Do some sewing. The people are fed up with looking at buttons. You're probably not. So yeah, so my story about, so you go in and you see that I've lost my thread, both metaphorically and literally. I think I'm giddy from the anaesthetic. Again, you're not going to believe me, are you? That it's the anaesthetic. Right, I need to get these buttons off so I can pick it up. So I won't remember where they were anyway. I'm going to sew this little green one on. I think I'm just going to... Oh, sorry, now I've hit you in the face. Do many apologies. I'm going to sew it on with a cross. So I'm going to anchor on the back first, although I've got a knot. See, that's why I was going to anchor on the back. My knot is not substantial enough. Yeah, so I'm going to do a little back stitch on the back. Let's try and get some realm of explaining to you what I'm doing with regards to the stitching, although like I said, I think it's pretty basic. Well, I can't do a cross in this because it's only got 2 holes. So I'm just going to... What I might do is, just to, be a bit fancy schmancy, I've gone through one of the holes, so I'm waving it around. I think I'm going to get a bead as well and put a button and a bead. So I've got another tin here. This is a modern, replica tin, but still beautiful. Also Italian. And it's got my extensive bead collection in it. I don't have a lot of beads. These beads I got years and years ago to sew along the base of my triple goddess, which is hanging in my bedroom. Which, if you watched my Park Home Life months and months ago about turning my home into a gallery, you'll have seen. It's the triptych, the pink, red and purple triptych, and it's beaded at the bottom. And that's what those are left over for. Those I do believe are Chrissy's. I think I had them for making the elephant rice bag, and I haven't given them back to her, so I need to do that. And there are the rest of my beads. So I just want something, A, that will fit on my needle, maybe a blue one, and B, that looks nice. That fits. A bit of fluff on it. Yeah, it's just a little something something extra. So then I just put my button somewhere in the centre of the flower. If you want realistic embroidery, floral embroidery, go and look at Marion. She did a wonderful thing on Sunday of her linen coat that she's working on of meadow cranespill geranium pratense, which is one of my favourite flowers as well. She did use bondweb because it's on a, well, I don't know, because she wanted to use bondweb. She had the flower there for reference, and it was very realistic. And there's a part 2 next week. I mean, even down to the geranium leaves, especially that variety, are very heavily divided, and she cut out these very intricate little leaves. Right, there we go. And I think while I've got this green thread in my needle, and I've done that, I went through a couple of times, I think I might just do a little line of running stitches. So I mean, my flowers are not recognisable as any flower in particular, but horses, and this is not the right needle. Horses for courses. Where's my tulip number 9? I always think of that, there's that, what is that song? Love Potion number 9. Love Potion number... Don't sing, Kathryn. You know the song, Love Potion number 9? Where's my bent tulip? Oh, it's probably got my moon stitching in it. Never mind, I use this one. When I say bent tulip number 9, it's got the same scan as that lyric from that song. So it makes me think of it. Bent tulip number 9. Can't thread my needle now. Oh, and I've got a funny Fred related story as well, which I must tell you when I tell you what I'm going to do here. Yeah, I'm just going to do a little line of little running stitches just around the edge, I think, just because I felt like it. Just because the thread was there in my needle. So they won't show up very much because it's against this pale blue, but really this week is just about finishing off the flowers and the leaves, I guess, if there is such a thing as homework here, which there isn't because there's no, you know, when nobody's working to a schedule apart from me. You can, but this, whatever I get done in this video, and my mouth does ache a bit, I have to say, I will finish in the week doing work on the flowers and the leaves, and then next week I'll come and show you what I'm going to do in between them, and we'll join them, because we need to join this, or I need to, and if you've done it the same way as me, you do as well. We need to join this with the fauna, and then join the whole thing to the comfort cloth. So that's going to be quite a sizable piece going on. And it will also mean, if you've been working the same way as me, joining your pieces, you know, around the edge of your central block that was yourself, that this is the 4th side, so our self will be entirely framed. And then we'll move on to the second half of the year. Yes, it really is the second half of the year. It seems ridiculous, but there you go. Tempus fugit and all that, time flies. And, you know, carry on working outwards with our cloths. There we go, so that's okay, it's just simple. And I think also, while I've got this thread in, I might give this flower a stem. How far am I jumping? Oh, that's alright, it's not too far. And I think I'm going to do a Marion stitch, talking of Marion, and do a running stitch. She did whipped running stitch for stems on her geranium, and I am inclined to agree with her that it makes a much nicer line than stem stitch itself, depending on, you know, all depends on what and where, doesn't it, on the day even, and how you feel. So quite evenish running stitches, and then I'm going to come back up about halfway along that bottom stitch, and then I'm going to whip it, dear Henry, from right to left all the way back up, just with the same thread. And I've turned the needle round so I'm using the eye so I don't split my thread. There we go. And then I think I'm going to whip it back down again, so it's still from the same direction. I'm just having a look. I do need to go in. I'm going in the hole that last stitch is coming out, because I don't like the look of that half stitch unwhipped otherwise. So I'm going in the end of that line of stitching, and then I'm going to come out again about halfway along it. There's just a little tiny thing that won't even be noticeable, but it's just me. And now I'm going to whip again from right to left, which will cross the whipping, give you like a little braided effect. I think that's the right way around. We'll see. Yeah. I always get confused which way is which. If you'd whip back the other way from the other side, because you're going in the other direction, you would just over double your line, so you'd end up with a wavier line. Marion explained it much better in her video at the weekend. Anyway, there we go. So now I'm down to the bottom, and I think I might, while I'm here and I've still got thread left, just put some little veins in these leaves. You see, it makes a really nice, and I prefer doing it to stem stitch as well. Just makes a really nice line. So yeah, Marion stitch, that's known as. No, don't go looking in your embroidery books for Marion stitch. It's not really called that. It's called whipped running stitch. It's also a traditional Indian cantler stitch. So I think I'm going to do a split back stitch for my leaf veins, and then I'll tell you, and split back stitch we've done before, but if you're new here, you just take a running stitch and then you come back. You probably can't see because it's the same colour, but then you split your stitch about halfway along with your needle, and then you come forward about half a stitch length each time, because half of your stitch length is taken up in the previous stitch. Does that make any sense at all? Your stitch will be, so the distance between there and there is half the stitch length, because when you go back into the previous stitch halfway, that makes a full stitch length. I don't think that's any clearer. I'm sure I hope you all know how to do split back stitch. And if you kind of fiddle about a bit with the point of your needle and get between your two strands of floss, it does look like a little chain stitch. And I'm going deliberately wonky. And I'm not going to go all the way to the end. I'm going to stop about there. And then I'm going to turn around and come back the other way and do some little side veins. I'll go in there. I have to jump about a bit. So yeah, so thread. So on Sunday, as I mentioned in Monday's video, I went out with a friend just for an evening out, and I stayed over with her, and I didn't leave here until tea time-ish, which is in my book about 4 o'clock is tea time. Oh dear. Now that's that little dog. I've told you about her before. She's called Poppy. That's just her voice. She's fine. She sounds like she's been murdered, but that's just how she sounds. All that's happening is she's seen another dog out, probably the little dog. Yes, Stella, no, it's okay, it's just Poppy. Stella always gets upset because she thinks there's something the matter. Yeah, so I went out, so I was away overnight, and now normally my neighbour would feed Fred. I've stayed away overnight a couple of times, and my lovely neighbour, who's got a cat herself, a girl cat, who, I wouldn't say she and Fred get on, but they've kind of learned to live and let live, more or less. but she feeds Fred. She's fed Fred a couple of times when I've been away overnight. And I told her I was going. I said, you don't need to worry because I'm going at tea time and I'll be back by about 9 in the morning. So, you know, he'll be fine. I can give him his tea before I go and I can give him his breakfast when I come back. So off I pop, have my night out, come back the next morning just after 9 as planned. And I see my neighbour out in her garden and she says, oh, you'll laugh. She said this morning she was having a cup of tea and she heard a meowing outside and she looked round. She keeps her girl cat in at night. And she looked round and her cat was still there. And so she opened the door and it was Fred sitting there. And she said, oh, hello, well, what are you doing here, blah, blah. And he just sat there meowing. And she decided, and she was probably right, that he'd come for his breakfast because I wasn't here. So she fed him, she offered him some of her girl cat's. He has wet food in the morning. There was, just to, you know, be totally, in case anyone's thinking I'm mistreating him, there was a bowl topped up to the brim with cat biscuits left here in the home that he has permanent access to at all times. It was only that it's the morning, so he has to have his wet food. I'm sure none of you think that I'm mistreating him, but I just wanted to be clear I had not left him without food. He has wet food in the morning and the evening, and at all other times there is a bowl of biscuits up on high where Stella can't get it, available to him. So he's not hard done by. But he decided it was morning, he needed to have his, what I call a pouchy, you know, they're one of those little pouches of cat food. So my neighbour offered him a pouchy, which is exactly the same brand as he has, but he didn't want that. Well, no, what he wanted was the cat biscuits, because her cat has a different kind of cat biscuits to what he has. So he went and had his breakfast, and so when I came in, I hadn't seen her yet. I didn't see her till I went out again. I think I took Stella out. And to hear the story of Fred, I came in and gave him a pouch, and he only ate half of it, and I thought, oh, he's sulking because I've left him, you know, or he's eaten loads of biscuits because I'm later or whatever. No, he didn't eat it because he'd already stuffed his face round at the neighbour's house. But it was, I'm so pleased that, you know, if I do go away and leave him like for a night or two, that he's got that. All the neighbours around here know him by name and, you know, make a fuss of him. All the dogs around here are fine with him. He actually is friends with little Robin up the road, who I mentioned a long time ago, who's a big friend of Stella's, not least because Robin's dad always has a biscuit in his pocket. But Fred goes and rubs around him. He's a little long-haired chihuahua, I think. Fred goes and rubs around him, and, you know, Robin wags his tail. So I think Fred is very happy here. And I'm glad that he's got a community, so that if I am away overnight, or even if I'm away, you know, for a day, and I've taken Stella with me, or got a friend to look after her, that he's not lonely. He has no qualms about going and scrounging food off the neighbours if he feels he should, if he feels he's entitled. Yeah, it's really, one of the other neighbours when I was coming back from my walk asked me how I was enjoying living here, and I said to him, yeah, very much. It's the community is the important thing, isn't it? Always the community. I'm so lucky to have found this community here, you know, of neighbours and you all. The community is so important, or in whatever form it takes. I was listening to someone on the radio this morning, and I was shouting at the radio, you know, how we turn into grumpy old women, don't we? Sometimes. Well, they were talking about people on the internet trolling and doing all that nasty stuff, and they were doing all that kind of nodding and agreeing type talking about how the internet brings out the worst in people, and you know, and I know there's an element of it's anonymous, so people say things they probably wouldn't say to someone's face and all that, but I don't think it's, to be honest, I don't think it's bringing out something that's not already in people, because apart from one or two, and by comparison with a lot of what goes on, very mild, rude messages I've had in the last nearly 2 years, we're all lovely together, aren't we? We're all supportive and friendly, and nobody's judging, and you know, there's a few thousand of you watching every video, and I know not everybody's commenting, but I don't think it's the internet making people mean, because you're all not mean. Does that make sense? I think it's just giving people a platform. I don't know. That's my angry old woman rant about the internet. Because I've had people say to me, oh, the internet's awful. No, the internet is inert. The internet is a tool. It's people that are lovely or not lovely. And we're all lovely, so there we go. Right, I've done my flower. I've done my flower. It looks much better now. It's got a stem. And I think it's going in my comfort cloth, this cloth, this way up. So I think I'll do my other buttons on those other three. There's one, oh I haven't got one, I wanted to do one with 4 holes, so I have to find one with 4 holes because the ones I chose all only had 2 holes. Oh, that's quite a nice one. So we're back to choosing buttons again. Oh, Vicky, you didn't send me enough buttons. No, Vicky, I'm joking. Please don't start sending me buttons with 4 holes. Because this is only a small portion of the buttons that Vicky sent me. The rest are all hanging in my craft room there. I've stopped calling it a studio. I called it a studio at first, but that was out of habit because I used to have a studio. But I don't really think I can grace that little room with the name studio. Although, you know, studios have to be a certain size. Anyway, I'm going to use this one. It's nice anyway on that, anyway. Keep saying anyway. It's nice on that purple. So I'm going to do that, I think, with a purple cross. Right, so I'm going to do the same thing again, anchor my thread on the back. Even though I've put a knot. And come through somewhere vaguely the right place. There, maybe down a bit, slightly, maybe. I'm going to do my button. Yeah, because I want to stitch, you know, sometimes you can, when you do a 4-hole button, you go round and round. I'm going to do it just as a cross. I think I'll do a cross first, and then I might also put a bead in the middle. I fancy putting one of those gold ones. They're not too bling. I don't expect Chrissy will begrudge me a bead. Come on, in you go. Can't find the hole. If I can't find the hole, I put the needle in and then wiggle the button onto it. And if I'm sewing buttons on clothes that have come off, I often do the cross stitch thing. I just like the look of it more than the other thing. That's just me. Right, so let's see if we can, if I can find the hole, if I can get a bead on there. Or is there another one in here that's gold? I think there's some gold ones in here. Will it fit? Yes, it will. Sometimes if you're using these little seed beads and they won't go over your needle, don't put them back in the pot, throw them away. I don't often say throw things away, but what will happen is every time you go in the pot of 3 million beads, you'll pick that same one up. That is what will happen. So put it straight away in the bin. If you find, you know, sometimes the hole's not been properly, however they do it, drilled. Now I'm imagining people sitting there with little tiny drills and glass spheres drilling little holes. I'm sure that's not how they're made. If anybody knows how they make beads, please tell us. Right, so I'm not going to do purple veins on my leaves, I don't think. I mean, I know I'm not being realistic, but I think that's just a bridge too far. So I'll just finish that off. Keep dribbling, you know that dribbly drooly thing, if you ever had anaesthetic at the dentist. And now it's wearing off, I'm going to take a painkiller because it is beginning to... It was a wisdom tooth, so I did joke to the dentist, which I'm sure he's heard a million times, that I'll now be even more stupid than I was before. I'll do that later. I'll just do the buttons with you, I think. So I want a button for here. I do want one of these pearly ones. I'm going to use this pearly one because I did really like it. Yeah, I think I'm going to just put that on there, but maybe I will use some gold thread. Have I got gold thread? It's kind of old gold. It's only one length, but I can double it. Yeah, and Friday will be Park Home Life, and what I'm thinking of doing is well, having a little chat with you and probably a little update on the moon stitching. And I'm going to show you my garden, because my garden I've started doing another bit of extra landscaping, is probably what I could call it. I've made a little decision about something out there, and the flowers are all flowering. There are lots of things that have come into flower, so yeah, I'll share that with you. Now there, because I doubled my thread, I didn't have to make a knot. I could have just gone through the loop, but I wasn't thinking, so anyway. So yeah, so that'll be Friday's Park Home Life. A bit of a garden update and a moon stitching update and a chat. Now, do I want to put a bead here as well? Yeah, that's that. I'm showing you something, look up. This is one of my dreads, and it's got this great big star bead on the end of it that I think came in a care package from one of you lovely people. So if you recognise that, thank you, that's where it now lives. But it clonks against the chair. So now, not only is all my stuff clanging on the wooden desk all the time, now you're going to hear that every now and then. That's my dread clanging against the chair. So that's what that noise is. Oh, I've got these. I did want to use one of these beads. I'll show you. If you're still looking up, look, it's a little silver bead, but it's a flower. But I don't think I can use it on a button. I think that would be too much on a coverlet that's going to be used. Oh, actually, I don't know if I'm going to use mine or hang it on the wall. I haven't decided yet. Maybe I'll put it on there. So I did want to use it. Actually, I prefer it on this one. I'm going to break, well, it's not a rule. I'm going to do something I rarely do, and that is take that off and do my stitching. So yeah, it's a little 5-petaled flower going onto a 5-petaled flower. A flower within a flower. And I think this gold, because it's kind of oldie gold, I think I will do the veins in the leaves with it while I'm here. Why not? So same as before, I'm going to use the split back stitch. So the first stitch, you make the length you want your stitches to be, and from there on you take a half stitch, because then you come back and split the stitch halfway down or thereabouts. I think that was a better explanation. I'm sure you all know already. Okay, so I've done that. I think that's a slightly different shade of gold because my thread ran out and I had to find some other in my aughts, but you know, it's as near as makes no difference. So I've just got that one last flower centre, and then I need to do veins on these leaves and these leaves. So for this one, if I want a more colourful button. Well, that one I quite liked. But again, the underside of it. Oh yes, I think I'll have that, but I don't think we want this gold thread. All these little details, it requires threading and unthreading your needle, doesn't it? Which some people don't like, and other people don't mind. And for me, I'd say it depends on the day. Sometimes I just want a long lazy girl thread and just keep on stitching for as long as possible, and other times I don't mind fiddling about with little ends of thread. And then I don't think I'll, oh Kathryn, get your words out. I think I'll stitch this button on and do the veins in the leaves, and I'm not sure if I'll do any more to it, but I won't do any more to it now, because to be completely honest, I'll tell you what I am going to do. I need to get this video uploaded for you. But then I'm going to go and have a little lay on the sofa and watch the tennis from Queen's, which nobody told me last week there was women's tennis from Queen's, which normally Queen's, if you don't know, Queen's Club in London is a grass court. Now, I love tennis, but to be honest, I'm not really a traditionalist, you may have noticed, in many things, but when it comes to tennis, I am a bit. And I like my tennis on the grass. I don't really watch the other tournaments. I might watch the final of one of the slams somewhere else if it's someone I like, you know, a woman or a man, whichever. But clay is my least favourite. I just like tennis on the grass. I don't know why I'm making excuses, it's just what I like. So I like watching Queen's and Eastbourne, and but there's been a women's tournament at Queen's this year, which has passed me by because I don't look at the news very much these days on purpose for mental health reasons. And if nobody tells me these things, I don't know. I don't watch normal television. I either listen to podcasts or I watch films on, you know, one of the platforms. So I don't know. So it's Queen's, and then after Queen's there's a week or so, isn't there? And then it's Wimbledon, and Wimbledon's my mostest favouriteest because I like the whole spectacle of the players in predominant white kit, and you know, just all the, yeah, just the whole spectacle of it, and the advertising's very low key, and it's in the club colours, which are purple and green. By chance. Not blue, but you know, some of my flowers are Wimbledon flowers. So yeah, I like that little button on there. So I think I'm going to go, and Queen's is like the warm-up tournament for Wimbledon. That's how it's sort of viewed, because players these days don't get to play on grass as much as they used to. They have to play on all these weird surfaces like reconstituted tyres and hard courts and mud that's fit for making pots and not for playing the beautiful game of tennis on. Sorry. Yeah, I don't need any more purple. So that's what I'm going to do, and take a painkiller and have a little lay and probably close my eyes and probably end up not seeing much of the tennis. But I will say, here comes another gripe, and this has been for a couple of years now, and you have to let me know if you watch Queen's. If they do this at Wimbledon, I shall be writing a letter to the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. The past couple of years at Queen's, that's 3 strands of floss, but I'm just going to go with it. At end change, you know, if you don't know tennis, you know, they play a game and then they play another game and then they change ends. But at end change, they get 90 seconds rest. So they have to have a little sit down. These days they have chairs. In the olden times, they had to just stand there. They have a little sit down and wipe of their face and, you know, all that with their towel. At Queen's, in the last 2 or 3 years, not exactly sure how many, they've started putting music on at end change. Now, not even, well, whether it's nice music is a matter of taste, but it's just like the kind of music they play in lifts, elevators. That's what it sounds like. And I don't like it. And I know it's not me that makes the rules. And I sound really stroppy, but have we come to that people can't just chat with each other or just sit quietly for 90 seconds while a couple of tennis players, you know, have a little sit and contemplate their strategy or whatever? That we have to have noise, it's this constant noise. It's, yeah, it nearly made me switch off the first year I heard it, but I just love the tennis so much I can't. So, I mean, I could, of course, mute my sound every end change, but that's a bit of a pain, because I often knit when I'm watching tennis, because I can knit pretty much without looking if I'm just doing normal knitting. Or sometimes I'll sew, and just, if it's people that are especially slow, you know, slow players, you can get quite a lot done while they're warming up. I mean, Djokovic, you could stitch a whole stitch meditation scroll or Nadal while they're getting ready to serve. They take so blooming long. Yeah, so it's a bit of a pain to have to keep putting down what you're doing and muting the thing because of the... Anyway, why do they do that? Does anybody know? Is anybody else irritated by it if they're watching Queen's tennis? Can anybody else imagine that they would ever do that at Wimbledon? Do they do that at other tennis? Do they do that at the Australian Open or the US Open or Roland Garros? I didn't watch Roland Garros this year. 90 seconds isn't long enough to hear a whole song even. I mean, so it's not about listening to the song. If they were... It's just noise. I think it's just for the noise. I don't understand. I'm getting upset by it and I shouldn't. It's really not that important. And now my leaf stem looks like a cactus. Maybe I'll do another vein higher up. Not that there's anything wrong with cacti, but... So yeah, so I think I'll go and watch Queen's with the sound turned very low so as not to be irritated by the music at end change. I'm going to have a little snooze at the same time. I'll take a painkiller first. And yeah, thank you all again so much for your response to the Moon project, and also I mentioned in Monday's video about maybe doing a future little... Sorry, that's my dread star clanging against the chair. You know, other little projects like that over a certain number of days, and there seemed to be quite a strong positive response to that, because I do think some of you have missed the stitch journal from last year. I did the coverlet because I wanted to do it, number one. I didn't want to do another stitch journal, you know, weekly stitch journal myself, and also I wanted to give you all something different and encourage people who maybe hadn't made such a large thing before to have a go, because of the way of doing it is, you know, fairly straight, you know, no rules kind of thing. Oh, I need that still in there. Never mind. I'll put it back in a minute. Yeah, so that's why I chose to do this, and I'm happy doing this, but I do understand that feeling of having a little something. So I don't, you know, I can't do it all the time. You know, we can't have a daily or weekly project for the whole rest of the year because of the coverlet and everything. But I think, you know, we'll do the moon, and then after we've done the moon, you know, finished the moon 28 days, I'll give it some thought. I've got a couple of ideas already, and then maybe do another project for another set number of days or weeks, you know, in relation to something else, and feature those in the every other Friday video. That's what I'm thinking. So you have answered my question, and I will respond to your answer, is basically what I'm saying. And I'm really going to go now because, yeah, I'm feeling quite rough. So I hope you have fun embellishing your flowers. If you want to follow my process exactly, then this week is about finishing embellishing your actual flowers, and then next week I'll share with you what I'm going to do in the spaces in between. Okay, so I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're doing, if you're going to go and watch Queen's and moan about the recorded music, or whatever else you're going to do. And thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to you joining me next time for more cloth tales. Lots of love. Bye bye.